Hello guys, my name is SVB and I'm back with another video, and today I want to discuss a problem that I think everyone kind of knows exists in Overwatch, but nothing is really done to fix it, and that is the education problem, or more specifically, the lack of education within the game. I'll elaborate more on what that means, and in this video I'm going to try and offer some tangible ideas and solutions I think could fix the problem. So let's get to it guys. Now we're over 3 years into the life of Overwatch, and I have to say I think the community is stagnated. This long into the game's life, we should all be much better at it, quite plain and simple. But despite this, every time I watch players in ranks like Gold and Platinum, I still see them making the most basic of mistakes. Now I'm not saying people can't make mistakes. Of course, that's a normal part of any game, and that will separate the good players from the great players. But the kinds of mistakes that are being made, fundamental misplays of the simplest elements of Overwatch, just shouldn't be happening. This isn't a matter of me being a high ranked player looking down on low ranked players, because I'm not even very good myself. This is just a matter of what the base level of our community should be. When talking about ranks, people often make the mistake of referring to Gold and Platinum and even Diamond as low ranks, but the average Overwatch player would be somewhere in Gold. Diamond and even Plat is above average. So I think it's fair to say that when a game has been out for this long, the average and above average players should have gotten the fundamentals down. Imagine if you'd been playing the guitar for 3 years and you still didn't know what a chord was, and yet watch a Platinum game and people still don't know how to manage shields. People still don't know how to position properly. And I mean, 3 years of playing and people still trickle. Even in master games, I see people trickling and dying, even though trickling is one of those things that everyone understands is bad to the point of it being a meme. I mean, it's unreal. It boggles my mind sometimes. But I think there's a deeper reason for this problem. It's not just that people are stupid or too lazy to learn. It's of course, there's a responsibility on the community to educate itself, but most of the people watching videos like this one are already doing that. The problem is that the vast majority, i.e. the rest of the player base, isn't, and this is where the deeper problem lies, because Blizzard should know about this. Of course people aren't going to go out looking for help. Not everyone has that kind of time or initiative, but despite the number of people who will simply never go outside the game for help in fixing their gameplay, Blizzard has done almost nothing to try and sort this issue out themselves. So now, let me spell out what I think they're doing wrong and what I think they should be doing instead. Like I said, the players need to improve themselves, but the most basic player who will just log on and play, not particularly seek YouTube videos or try to watch back their gameplay, also has no direction, help, or incentive from Blizzard to improve. Blizzard just does not try to teach its players how to play Overwatch. I mean, we can see this on the most fundamental level in that the tutorial for Overwatch is absolutely garbage. It doesn't teach you anything other than the absolute basic mechanics, and that too only of Soldier 76. It doesn't introduce any of the major concepts of the game, and I mean it doesn't even introduce any of the other bloody roles of the game. What are you gonna learn about playing Reinhardt or running around as Soldier 76 for a bit? If you guys want an idea of how bad it really is, go back and play the tutorial. You will laugh at how little it actually tells you. It doesn't even tell you that you have 5 teammates in a game, or what a payload is, or bloody hell what a game of Overwatch even involves. Literally none of this. Clearly, this is a problem for new players. You're only given the most basic information and then told to figure everything else out for yourself. And when the rest of the community has 3 years of gameplay on you, and they're talking about things like resetting and ult economy, you're just going to be looking at them like they're speaking a foreign language. It's like teaching someone how to ride a bike by giving them training wheels for 1 day, and then yanking them away and saying, alright, off you go. That metaphor is too generous. Right now, it's more like giving someone a wheel and then telling them, now learn how to ride a bike. But this negligence has knock-on effects, and it's actually hurt the more experienced players too. Because you're asked to self-learn the game entirely, the chance that you pick up bad and incorrect habits is incredibly high, to the point of it being impossible that you wouldn't pick up bad habits along the way. Imagine if you started playing Overwatch and didn't ever seek help from YouTube. Your only option would be jump into a bunch of games and just do stuff. Just do things, mash your controls, use your abilities, shoot stuff, and whatever happens to get you a win, that's good. Except, that's not good. It's not good at all. Despite what the game says to you, not everything that results in a win is correct. There are core fundamentals that every player should understand before they enter a game of Overwatch, and you should be doing these things every single game, whether you win or lose. It's like learning to shuffle a pack of cards. If you just throw them all onto the floor, sure, they'll get mixed up, but that's just a mess. You have no control over the cards. You don't know what's going to happen to them. You don't even know if they'll be properly shuffled. If you did want to learn how to shuffle and how to riffle shuffle, you'd have to understand how to do it and then practice, even if you fail multiple times getting there. And yet in Overwatch, you can play any of the 3 roles without even the most basic understanding of what is required of you. As a tank, if you don't understand what space is, what shield management is, what positioning is, then you're not playing tank properly, and yet the game doesn't tell you about any of that. If as a support, you don't understand resource management, target priority, and how to look after yourself, and you don't know how to play support, and yet the game doesn't tell you about any of that. If as a DPS you don't understand about focus fire, engaging with your team, about ultimate economy, then you're not playing DPS properly, and yet the game doesn't tell you about any of that. All the game tells you is basically how much damage you did, and this leads me on to my next issue, the medal system. Now I'm not going to go on too long about this because there's already plenty of material out there talking about just how bad the medal system is. But to summarize for anyone who hasn't understood this yet, medals mean nothing. On their own, they're completely worthless pieces of information. They don't in any way actually help you identify what went wrong in a game. All they encourage is this mentality that if I've got the medals, I did nothing wrong, which is the worst way to learn the game. In reality, having medals can mean nothing, and in some cases even be a bad thing. For example, if your gold objective time is Widowmaker, you're playing the hero wrong. If your gold damage is Moira, all it means is that you did a bunch of trickle damage that killed no one while your teammates died. Gold medals are the only form of feedback that the game gives you, and yet they're terrible. So what should Blizzard actually do? Well, let me tell you. There needs to be systems within the game that teach the players what Overwatch is about, and we can take a big leap from other games to see a great way to implement this. In Dota 2, the game has an inbuilt guide system. One of the complaints that people often have about that game is that there's so much information to take in and so many things to learn that it can be overwhelming for a new player and even put them off from playing. Sounds a lot like a certain shooter game, I know. Well, in Dota, at least the game actually tries to help the players out with this. Firstly, the tutorial is a lot more extensive, teaching you each concept one by one. It actually runs you through a normal game of Dota and talks you through the aspects of the game, the win conditions, the character progression, etc. And then once you've done that, it actually asks you to play as heroes from different roles. It asks you to play as a tank, as a support, and as a DPS. It at least tries to introduce you to the idea that each of them have a different job in the game and a different playstyle. Oh, and the bots in Dota are way better. They actually do things that real players would do, not just run around mindlessly. But speaking in terms of a long-term and permanent solution, one of the best things in the game is that it allows access to educational guides within the game itself. So for example, let's say you want to play the hero Spirit Breaker. One of the most complicated aspects of Dota is the items. There's hundreds of them, and they all have vastly different purposes, and they can even morph into better items with recipes. For a new player, or someone who isn't an expert at the game, sifting through all of this in one go is almost impossible. So, the game has an inbuilt default guide, which will show you a list of suggested items you should buy. You can, of course, choose to ignore it, but it's impossible to miss. It's a separate little tab, and all you have to do is right-click the items that have been selected for you, and they'll be bought and ready to go. When you're new to a game, and you don't know what the hell you should be doing, having that bit of guidance that says, this is the right road to go down, is tremendously helpful. But it gets better, because you can actually go beyond the default guides. Of course, as you'd expect, the basic guides are, well, basic, so guide makers from the Dota community can upload their customized, tailored guides to the game, and you can have access to all of these. There's also a rating system where players will up or downvote how good or helpful a guide is, and then you can get an overall score which tells you which guide you could probably trust. You, as a player in the game, can then select any of these guides and have them be the one that shows up for you. What's great about these guides is that they will give you a much more detailed breakdown of not only how to play the hero, but also why you pick certain items over others. It will often have a brief outline of your playstyle, and in the game, there will often be a subcategory like Situational Items. If you hover over some of these, there'll be a little tooltip that comes up explaining in what situations you'd buy the item and why. Like, if you get a lot of early kills and have a lot of money, you might want to buy this more greedy item to press your advantage. Or, if you're dying a lot, then there might be some protection items that you need to buy. It might sound like you're spoon-feeding the players, but actually it's the opposite. This kind of guidance is necessary to help players actually first understand the game so that they can then develop their own decision-making abilities once they've been armed with the tools they actually need. Because if you understand why one item is good in one particular situation, you'll understand why it's bad in another, and why a similar item could be better, or why this item would also work on a different hero. On top of that, these guides can also be adapted by playstyle. So let's say there's a hybrid hero who could be a tank or could be a support, where you can select the guide that you want that fits your playstyle. If you want to play that hero as a frontline tank, you can select a tank specific guide that tells you what abilities to learn and items to buy to fit that playstyle. And the same applies if you want to actually play that hero more as a support character who enables their teammates. Something like this in Overwatch would be a tremendous step forward in helping the community correct their bad play. Of course, it's a different game, so the system would have to work differently. So here's some suggestions I have on how it could be done. Firstly, it would be great if either in the training or arcade section, you have a mode which is specifically for guided learning. And it would be amazing if Blizzard made a way for content creators to be able to use this mode to create walkthroughs for players. I, for example, would love to make guides using the game engine on how to play Reinhardt and how to position on specific maps. I envision it looking something like this. Let's say you get put on Hollywood. One way of doing this would be to have little nodes all over the map that when you hover over them, cause a little tooltip to pop up for you. It could go somewhere like this as I've suggested, or it could even pop up in your chat tab. If you've got this in a practice mode where you play against bots, then you can even allow players a freeze button which just pauses the game and allows them to read the tooltip properly and understand what's being suggested to them. You can also allow settings such as when and how long the tooltip appears for, because obviously you can't be staring at that node all the time. You want to be able to just look at it once and have the tip there for you. So you could allow a setting that lets the tooltip stay there until you select a new one, or you could have a tooltip disappear after a set amount of time, whatever the player feels comfortable with. The point of all this is to have little reminders for players about what they should be doing in-game, because if there's one thing I've learned after watching hundreds of hours of normal, non-pro players play Overwatch, is that they often just forget what they're supposed to be doing in the heat of a 6v6 match. In fact, that's why I would go so far as to say that you could allow these tooltips to appear in modes outside of just training. I say you could even put it into quick play. The nodes would obviously only appear on your screen, and if you don't find them distracting, then why shouldn't you have them on? You can always keep a button that toggles them all on and off if you decide mid-game that you don't need them anymore. And are they an unfair advantage? No, since everyone can choose to have them on if they'd like. The benefits of this is that it gives the players the guidance they so often lack. I used a bike metaphor earlier. Well, these are the training wheels. These are what help someone go from knowing nothing to understanding everything they need to. And of course, like in Dota, you could choose and personalize which guide you want to use. Particularly with certain heroes who can have very different playstyles, you can match yourself up with a guide that fits to your tastes. You could have a Winston guide where he's played more as a flanker and a duelist rather than a conventional main tank. You could have a Reaper guide where you play him as a squishy killer, or you can have a guide where he just sits as a backline patroller and a tank or shield pressurer. You could have a Lucio guide which mostly helps you with rollouts and wall riding positions, or one that helps you with reminders of where to speed boost and which area to guide your team towards. You could select a guide that's geared towards more basic stuff, or one that only helps you with more advanced tips. The possibilities are endless, and you can select whatever suits you. And why stop with just the nodes? There's so much more opportunity to teach players in the game itself. You can use the hero select screen, for example, for the same purpose. Rather than just staring at the heroes and destroying the spawn room while you wait, which is entirely pointless, your guide can have some general information to give at the start of each match based on the map you're playing on and based on whether you're attacking or defending. Here's a quick mock-up I made for how a Reinhardt guide might look on the King's Row select screen when you're attacking. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy, nor does it have to be pages upon pages of text. Just little reminders and guidances for players so that they aren't just expected to thrash around and accidentally stumble upon something that works. Give players help. It would also be great to have a VOD section in the game where a content creator can talk through their gameplay and you as a player can watch along, as if it was your own replay. Yes, people can do this online, but being able to do it within the game's client will guaranteed make more people actually take the effort to do it, and of course, being able to control the camera for yourself in someone else's game would be really helpful. Now, none of this has to look like how I've suggested. These are just some ideas I had, and I'm sure smarter people with more experience in game design have great ideas too. In fact, I know you guys will have great ideas for how we could have in-game things like this, so just let me know in the comments what you've got cooking. But it just seems baffling to me that we haven't moved towards adding more stuff like this into the game. The reality is, and this is where I'm going to be negative for a bit, is I don't think Blizzard really cares about teaching its players. I think if it did, we'd have a lot different decisions being taken both internally and externally to the game. I think I can sum up what I mean by a simple example. Take the Mercy Recall challenge that just finished. The idea of it was, hey, we're dropping this new Mercy comic, so to build up hype for that bit of lore and this character, we're launching a Mercy themed challenge. And that's great. I genuinely like it as an idea, but when you look at the actual challenge, you realize it was so poorly executed. Take firstly how the challenge worked. You just had to play and win 9 games to receive a Mercy legendary skin. I mean, okay, it gets people playing Overwatch, which is great, but what does it actually have to do with Mercy, or the story we just read? You can play literally every hero except Mercy and still win the challenge. Then, there were the rewards outside the in-game challenge, and this is where our second problem lies. You had the chance to win additional rewards if you watched a certain number of hours of participating streams from a group of hand-picked Overwatch streamers. Let's take a look at the list of these streamers then. Now I know things get misinterpreted all the time, so I want to be very clear when I say this is a great list of Overwatch streamers. Everybody on this list is awesome, and of course, you guys have even seen Faria on the first episode of Group Up With Me. But of these 10 content creators, only one, that being CarQ, makes educational Overwatch content. Only 1 out of 10. So 10% of Blizzard's effort is directing you towards someone who specifically tries to teach people how to play the game and improve. Now there's nothing wrong with having streamers who are entertaining, because that's also great, and it also gets players engaged in the game. But 10% dedicated to education? Really? And even then, You're only asked to watch him play. There's nothing in here that is gently prodding players to try and learn or improve, or to try to actually watch any of his videos. So now, let me tell you how I would have done it. If you're gonna do a Mercy challenge, then make it a challenge that actually gets you playing and learning about Mercy. Rather than just playing 9 games to win the best reward, why not offer greater rewards for people who actually played the hero well? You can still let people earn something for winning games and for watching streams, but you could easily go further. First, you can set the challenges tailored to the actual hero and skills involved with them. Challenge number 1 can be something simple. Perform 50 super jumps with Mercy. Not only does it introduce the concept of super jumping, which I guarantee you a large section of the community will not even know what it is or how it's done, but it also then asks the players to practice it for themselves. By the time you do your 50th super jump or 100th super jump, you've probably got it down. Even if, when you're doing the challenge, you're just spamming super jump in the arcade while your team needs healing and you're being a bad teammate, it doesn't really matter, because the long-term benefit is that you've now taught hundreds of thousands of players how to super jump, so they actually know how to do it when they need to in-game. To supplement this, you pair up with a content creator who's a Mercy specialist and have them release a guide video on how to super jump. Again, educate the players. Help them, Blizzard, please. Then you ramp up the difficulty. You set challenges that can't just be achieved by spamming an ability and being a bad teammate. So challenge 2 becomes revive a teammate and have them kill 3 people within the next 30 seconds. This is similar to the challenges you do to get sprays in Overwatch, but most people have already done those, and additionally, these can be tough on purpose so that they're actually rare and something people will be proud of having. What's the point of this one? Well, it's trying to teach you not to just mindlessly res on cooldown, which is one of the biggest and most frequent mistakes I see from Mercy players. It's trying to introduce you to the idea of being clutch with your reses, and resing someone who maybe has an ultimate up, or someone who could swing the outcome of your next fight, thus the 30-second timer limit. Again, you then pair this with a content creator who explains this concept in more detail to the players about how resing at the right time can make a big difference. You can have a video with examples and tips for what kind of situations you want to res in and what kind of situations you wouldn't want to res in. Then, the final challenge should be tough, and it should emphasize good Mercy play. I've created an example here that's very rough, and I'm sure people could make better ones, but I think it's the right kind of idea. Average a total of blank damage healed / boosted per Valkyrie over your last 10 games. Now this again is not something you can just rock up and do. This requires A, a great understanding of Valkyrie and when to do it, and B, importantly, it requires consistency. The number can be determined using Blizzard's internal statistics to be a fair figure based on what players will achieve, but the point is, again, is trying to emphasize what valuable Mercy play is and what is actually good use of your abilities. For players who already play Mercy, it'll be a motivation for them, a way to test and challenge themselves and see if they match up how good they think they are. And if they do have bad habits, this would be a good way of showing them that they're not actually meeting the numbers a good Mercy player would reach. And for players who don't play her, well, it will give them an introduction to the hero, something to not only incentivize trying out the hero, but also an additional in-game feat to conquer. So all those players who say that Mercy is easy, well, here's your chance to prove it. If it's so easy, go ahead and hit tier 3 of the challenge. I dare you. And when they inevitably fail, well, now they'll have a bit more respect for the Mercy players in their games. Again, the numbers and the specifics may not be correct. You guys might have better ideas or suggestions, and if you do, please leave them in the comments below. But I think the ideas here are really something that would help the game. I really hope that Blizzard proves me wrong and they implement something like this. I would love to share these ideas with them, but hey, it absolutely doesn't have to be me. Even if they pair up with every content creator that isn't me, because I spend so much time complaining, then that's absolutely fine. I just want to see the game be better for everyone. But I would really like it if the community made some noise about this, so if you do like it, then come on guys, let's share stuff like this on Reddit and Twitter, and make Blizzard pay attention so we can all get closer to seeing the game we want to see. And that's all I got for today guys. Hope you found this video helpful, and hope the ideas I've suggested, whether you think they're good or bad, have given you some inspiration of your own about how you might implement systems in the game to help players. Like I said, I'd love to hear the ideas you guys have, so please do drop them in the comments below. I didn't even get the time to mention the workshop, where so many people have made practice modes and training programs that Blizzard could easily make permanent and implement into a training section somewhere in the game, which has stuff like aim practice and Ana nade placement and all that good stuff. As always, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons who do the awesome job of supporting me, and from now on, I'm going to have a credit section for my Twitch subscribers too. It's a way of thanking them, so make sure you're subbed or signed up to Patreon to get the rewards you want. But that's it from me. I'll be back next week with another video. See you guys soon.